Have you ever felt like you're shouting into the void, where every word you say just dissolves into the chaos of the world around you? In a society that bombards us with messages to speak up and stand out, I want to share a secret with you. Sometimes the most powerful statements are the ones we make in silence. Today, we're going to explore an ancient philosophy that teaches us the art of powerful presence without saying a word. Imagine navigating life's storms with such composure that your very presence commands respect and attention. Stick around, because we're diving deep into how the Stoic practice of silence can transform the way you perceive yourself and how others perceive you, unleashing a profound transformation that doesn't just change how you talk, but fundamentally changes how you walk through the world. And hey, if you like what you hear and want to support this journey into the quiet strength of Stoicism, smash that subscribe button, hit like, and share this video. Stick with us to the end. Don't skip around like a caffeinated kangaroo. You might miss out on the secrets to mastering your silent power. Number 1. Presenting yourself with dignity. Think of it this way. When you're out there, whether it's at a job interview, a first date, or even just grabbing coffee with a friend, how you carry yourself speaks volumes before you even say a word. Stoicism, that age-old philosophy that teaches us the value of inner calm and outer simplicity, really hammers this point home. So what does it actually mean to present yourself with dignity? It's not about putting on a show or dressing to impress in a way that feels untrue to who you are. Instead, Stoicism teaches us to embrace authenticity. Imagine walking into a room not armed with flashy attire or an over-the-top persona, but with a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're aligned with your true self. It's about that calm, composed demeanor that says, "I'm here, I'm present, and I'm grounded." Now let's break it down a bit. When you're true to yourself, making decisions that reflect your personal values and not just societal expectations, that's Stoic dignity in action. It's like being at that cafe observing two people on a date, one trying hard to impress with flashy clothes and grand gestures, and the other simply engaging in genuine conversation, relaxed and assured. Who do you think leaves a more lasting, dignified impression? In the Stoic view, it's the person who isn't trying to mold themselves into what they think others want them to be. It's the person who understands that their worth isn't tied to the external, but radiates from within. This doesn't mean you don't put effort into how you present yourself, but that the effort is in alignment with your true nature, not a facade. This is where the Stoic practice of self-awareness comes into play. By knowing yourself deeply, you can choose actions, words, and even your attire in ways that genuinely reflect who you are. It's about integrity. Your outer expressions match your inner values. And when you live this way, you start to treat yourself with more respect. And here's the kicker: others begin to do the same. Number 2. Know your worth. We hear it all the time, but let's unpack what it really means, especially through the lens of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us about resilience, self-control, and understanding our intrinsic value. So, imagine for a moment that you're a priceless painting, hanging in the hustle and bustle of a busy museum. Not everyone who passes by will understand your value. Some might not even give you a second glance. But does that change your worth? Absolutely not. In the Stoic mindset, our worth isn't defined by external validation, likes, shares, or fleeting compliments. Instead, it's something more solid, more enduring. It's about recognizing your own value, even if no one else does. Stoicism teaches us that true worth comes from understanding and controlling what we can, our actions, our thoughts, our responses. Imagine you're a gemstone. Even if buried under dirt and unseen, your value remains unchanged. It's the same with us. Our value doesn't diminish because someone fails to recognize it. or because we face rejection. This brings us to another point. Stoics believe in focusing on what's within your control. Your self-esteem should be one of those things. It's not about puffing up your chest and telling the mirror how great you are. It's deeper than that. It's about being comfortable with who you are, regardless of the external circumstances. It's about asking yourself, am I living according to my principles? Am I proud of my actions? Here's where it gets really interesting. When you truly understand your worth, your behavior changes. You start to make choices that reflect this understanding. You stop chasing approval and start cultivating your own peace and happiness. You set boundaries that protect your time and energy. Why? Because you recognize that you deserve respect, and you start to expect it, not from a place of arrogance, but from a deep-seated knowledge of your own value. And guess what? This doesn't just help you. It teaches others how to treat you. It's like setting the standard for the kind of relationships you want in your life. If you respect yourself, you attract people who respect you too. It's that simple. In Stoic practice, this is all about virtue, the idea that living a good life, a life you can be proud of, is what gives life its value. So when you know your worth, you're not just boosting your ego. You're aligning yourself with Stoic principles that enhance not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. Number 3, acting with boundaries. This concept ties in beautifully with Stoicism, which is all about mastering control over what we can and letting go of what we can't. Setting boundaries is a perfect example of exercising that control in a meaningful way. Imagine boundaries like the walls of a garden. These walls help to keep what's valuable in and what's harmful out, allowing what's inside to flourish. It's the same with personal boundaries. They help us define where we end and others begin, ensuring we maintain our integrity and don't get lost in the expectations or demands of others. In the context of Stoicism, boundaries are not about building barriers between us and the world, but about knowing ourselves so well that we can interact with the world more effectively. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius often talked about living in accordance with nature, our own nature. To do this, we need to understand our limits, our values, and how much of ourselves we wish to give to others. This might look like saying no to extra commitments that drain your energy or choosing not to engage in gossip or negativity. It's about protecting your mental space from being overwhelmed by external demands. Think about it. If someone crosses a line, it's not the line that's the problem. It's the action of crossing it that matters. Your response to this, the boundaries you enforce afterward, teaches others what is and isn't acceptable. Let's break it down into a day-to-day scenario. Say you're at work and a colleague constantly asks for help with tasks at the last minute, eating into your time. Acting with Stoic boundaries might mean politely but firmly letting them know you need advance notice to assist them. This isn't just about protecting your time, it's about respecting your own needs and signaling to others that your time is valuable. Now, here's where it gets really Stoic. Maintaining your tranquility. Stoics believe in remaining undisturbed by external events as much as possible. When you set and maintain boundaries, you're essentially practicing this principle. You're choosing not to let external forces disrupt your inner peace. This doesn't mean you're unhelpful or uncaring. Quite the opposite. It means you assist from a position of strength on your own terms, which ultimately makes your contributions more meaningful and sustainable. And remember, Stoicism also teaches us about the ebb and flow of life. Boundaries aren't rigid, impermeable walls. They can shift and evolve as you do. What's important is that you're conscious of them, actively defining and redefining them as your life and your understanding of yourself grow. So, when you think about setting boundaries, consider it an act of self-respect and a deep commitment to living stoically. It's about knowing yourself, protecting your energy, and interacting with the world in a way that respects both your limits and your potential. Number 4. Limiting access. In Stoicism, the idea is not about building barriers out of pride or elitism, but about valuing your own time and space so much that you choose wisely who and what you allow into it. Think about it this way. Your energy and attention are some of the most precious resources you have. Stoics like Seneca and Epictetus emphasized the importance of focusing these resources not on trivial matters, but on what truly enriches your life. By limiting access to yourself, you're not being rude or aloof. You're simply prioritizing your resources for the highest good, not just yours, but ultimately for others you interact with too. So, how does this look in everyday life? It's like being the curator of your own personal museum. A curator doesn't fill a museum with every single piece of art available. They selectively choose what fits and enhances the theme and quality of the museum. Similarly, by limiting access to your time and energy, you're curating your life. You're choosing to spend time on activities and with people who uplift and contribute to your well-being, rather than diluting your energy across too many commitments or with those who drain you. In practical terms, this might mean saying no to social gatherings that you know will leave you feeling exhausted, or choosing to keep certain weekends free from any obligations so you can recharge and reflect. It's about giving yourself the permission to be unavailable when you need to be, so that when you are available, you're fully present and genuinely engaged. This isn't just beneficial for you. It also means that the time you do spend with others is of much higher quality. Here's the Stoic twist to it. By practicing moderation in how accessible you are, you're also practicing a form of self-discipline, which is a key aspect of Stoicism. This discipline isn't about denying yourself connections and experiences, but about being mindful of preserving your mental and emotional well-being by not overcommitting. It's about recognizing that being overly available can sometimes lead to being taken for granted, and that scarcity can increase both your perceived and actual value. Furthermore, limiting access is also a way of respecting yourself. It sends a clear message to yourself and others that your time is valuable and you are responsible for how it is used. This aspect of Stoicism teaches us that self-respect leads to respect from others. People begin to understand that your time and presence are not a given but a privilege to be valued. Remember, Stoicism isn't about withdrawal from life, but about engaging with it in a more intentional and meaningful way. By setting these boundaries around your accessibility, you create more space for personal growth, deeper relationships, and activities that truly align with your values. You become more discerning in your engagements, which not only enhances your own life, but also sets a standard for the type of relationships you want to cultivate. Limiting access helps you live more stoically by ensuring that your engagements are purposeful, your relationships are genuine, and your life reflects a true respect for the finite nature of time and energy. So consider this approach not as shutting out, but as wisely letting in, creating a richer, more meaningful tapestry of life. Number 5. Prepare to walk away. Stoicism teaches us about detachment and the importance of focusing on what we can control. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, often spoke about the power of accepting things we cannot change and only investing our energy where we can actually make a difference. Preparing to walk away embodies this principle beautifully. It's about accepting that despite our best efforts, some things are beyond our control, including the behaviors and choices of others. Think about a relationship or a job where you've given your all, but the outcomes haven't aligned with your expectations or needs. Continuously pushing against a closed door can be exhausting and disheartening. Preparing to walk away isn't a failure. Rather, it's an act of courage. It's recognizing that your energy and time are precious and choosing to redirect them towards places where they will be more effectively utilized. In practical terms, this means setting clear boundaries and having an honest understanding of your limits. It's knowing what you can tolerate and what crosses the line. For instance, in a relationship, this might look like recognizing when the dynamic is consistently undermining your well-being despite attempts to address and repair issues. In a job, it might mean realizing that the work environment is toxic and no longer aligns with your career aspirations or values. Stoicism doesn't just teach us to be resilient in the face of adversity, but also wise about where we choose to stand our ground. By preparing to walk away, you're practicing Stoic wisdom by not letting external circumstances dictate your peace of mind. You reclaim your power by choosing where to invest your emotional and mental energy. Moreover, preparing to walk away is also a practice in self-respect. It sends a clear message to yourself and others that you value yourself enough to leave situations where you are not valued. This act of self-respect can be incredibly transformative. It shifts how you see yourself and how others perceive you. You begin to attract situations and people that respect your boundaries and appreciate your worth. And remember, Stoicism teaches us to view every experience as an opportunity for learning and growth. Walking away is not about cutting losses, but about moving forward with the wisdom gained from the experience. It's about growing from what you've learned and opening yourself to new opportunities that are more in line with your personal growth and values. Preparing to walk away is an exercise in freedom. It's about freeing yourself from unproductive or harmful situations and embracing the fluidity of life's experiences. It teaches us that letting go of one thing often means opening the door to something else, perhaps something better. So, as you navigate the complexities of life, keep in mind that sometimes the most powerful step you can take is to choose a different path, one that leads to peace and fulfillment. Number 6. The power of no. It's a concept that can transform your life, aligning perfectly with Stoic principles about autonomy and internal control. Stoicism teaches us that we have the ultimate authority over our own choices, and that includes our ability to say no. This isn't just about rejecting requests or invitations. It's about affirming your own priorities, values, and time. Think about how many times you've said yes when you really wanted to say no. Perhaps it was out of a sense of obligation, fear of missing out, or just not wanting to disappoint others. Now, consider how those yeses might have cost you peace of mind, brought unnecessary stress, or even led you away from your own goals. Stoics like Epictetus emphasized that our freedom comes from how we respond to external demands. Each no you articulate is a declaration of independence, an assertion of your own free will and choice. Saying no has a deeper significance in Stoic practice. It's about recognizing that not every opportunity, invitation, or request that comes your way is worth pursuing. It's understanding that your mental and emotional resources are finite and that you must manage them wisely. When you say no to things that don't align with your inner values or that don't serve your higher purposes, you are practicing Stoic discernment. Here's where it gets really practical and empowering. Learning to say no creates space for what truly matters to you. For instance, by declining to take on an extra project at work that doesn't contribute to your career growth, you preserve energy for your passions or for advancing your professional skills in ways that are meaningful to you. In relationships, saying no to attending events out of mere obligation allows you to spend quality time with family or engage in self-care. Moreover, the Stoic concept of virtue, living in accordance with your highest self, is central here. Each time you say no to something that doesn't fit your virtuous life plan, you reinforce your commitment to your personal ethics and integrity. You are, in essence, choosing the path that leads you to be the best version of yourself. This is profoundly liberating and aligns with the Stoic idea that true happiness comes from living a life of virtue. There's also a transformative power in the repercussions of saying no. It teaches people about your boundaries and standards. This isn't a one-off lesson either. It's ongoing. The more consistently you can say no to the non-essentials, the more others come to understand and respect your time and choices. This not only strengthens your relationships by basing them on mutual respect and understanding, but also reduces future pressures to conform to expectations that do not serve you. However, it's important to remember that saying no should be done with compassion and tact. Stoicism doesn't advocate for harshness or detachment, but for rationality tempered with kindness. So when you say no, do it in a way that respects others' feelings and possibly explains your reasons, which helps to maintain harmony and understanding in your interactions. Mastering the art of saying no is a Stoic practice that encourages you to live deliberately, to choose paths that truly benefit your well-being, and to manage your life's course with thoughtful intention. It's about embracing the control you have over your decisions and using that power to cultivate a life of genuine contentment and purpose. As you grow more comfortable with saying no, you'll find that it not only simplifies your life, but enriches it profoundly. Number 7. Healthy skepticism. This concept resonates deeply with Stoic philosophy, which encourages us not to accept everything at face value, but to question and analyze. It's about balancing openness with critical thinking, ensuring that we don't get swept away by every new idea or trend that comes our way. Think of it this way. Stoicism teaches us the importance of using reason as a guiding principle in life. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor, often wrote about the need to examine and test our impressions, asking whether they are true and whether they warrant our reaction. Applying this to modern times, healthy skepticism is not about cynicism or dismissing everything, but about taking a moment to reflect on the validity and sources of the information we receive. Let's put this into a real-life context. Say you hear a sensational news story or a friend tells you something surprising. Instead of immediately taking it as truth, you take a step back. You consider the source, ask questions, maybe do a bit of research. This doesn't mean you distrust everything. Rather, you're ensuring that you're forming opinions based on solid ground. This Stoic practice protects you from misinformation and helps you make more informed decisions. Healthy skepticism also plays a crucial role in how we view advice and accept norms. Often, we're bombarded with advice on how to live, work, or even eat. Stoicism invites us to not just follow the crowd, but to think independently. Just because something works for the majority doesn't mean it's right for you. By applying a bit of skepticism, you assess whether the popular advice aligns with your personal values and life circumstances. Furthermore, embracing skepticism can enhance your personal growth. It encourages a mindset of learning and adaptability. Each time you question or analyze a claim, you're engaging with the material, potentially learning something new or reinforcing your existing knowledge. This aligns well with the Stoic ideal of lifelong learning and self-improvement. Healthy skepticism also means being skeptical of our own beliefs and assumptions. This is perhaps the most Stoic application of the concept, as it challenges us to look inward and question our own biases and preconceptions. Are our beliefs really true? Are they helping us live a better life? This form of self-scrutiny can be uncomfortable, but it's essential for personal development and living a life true to Stoic principles. In relationships, healthy skepticism can help us communicate and understand each other better. Instead of taking things personally or jumping to conclusions, we pause and consider other perspectives. This doesn't mean we doubt everything others say, but we approach conversations with the intent to understand fully before reacting. This level of thoughtfulness can strengthen bonds and prevent misunderstandings. Healthy skepticism is about embracing the wisdom of Stoic philosophy. Control what you can, let go of what you can't, and always strive to distinguish between the two. It's a tool that not only guards against deception and error, but also fosters a deeper, more thoughtful engagement with the world around us. So, as we navigate through the vast sea of information and interaction, let's keep our skeptical hat on, not to distance ourselves from the world, but to engage with it more wisely and effectively. Number 8. Don't chase. In the Stoic framework, this concept is deeply meaningful and profoundly liberating. Stoicism teaches us about the importance of focusing on what is within our control and letting go of what is not, and this is exactly where the idea of not chasing fits in. When we talk about not chasing, we're really talking about not allowing ourselves to be driven by external validations or outcomes that are beyond our control. Stoicism doesn't tell us to abandon our goals or to stop striving for what we want, but it does caution us against becoming so attached to these desires that we lose sight of our current happiness and inner peace. Let's break it down into everyday situations. Think about a time when you might have been chasing after a relationship, trying to win over someone's affection, or perhaps a job that seemed perfect. The energy expended in these pursuits, when driven by desperation or fear of missing out, often leads to frustration and disappointment. Instead, Stoics would advise us to invest that energy inward, focusing on self-improvement, cultivating our virtues, and maintaining our tranquility. In practical terms, not chasing means setting your intentions and working diligently towards your goals, but being okay with whatever outcome occurs. It means understanding that sometimes the things we chase after are not always aligned with what is best for our long-term happiness or growth. This doesn't mean you become passive. Rather, you approach your pursuits with a calm determination, ready to pivot or let go if the path no longer serves you. Applying a Stoic mindset to not chasing involves embracing the concept of amor fati, or love of fate. This means loving and accepting everything that life brings, even if it's not what you've been tirelessly chasing. It's about finding joy and lessons in the outcome, whatever it may be, and understanding that sometimes the best opportunities come not from relentless pursuit, but from being open and receptive to what life has to offer. Moreover, when you stop chasing, you send a powerful message about your self-worth. It shows that you value yourself enough not to pursue things, people, or situations that require you to compromise your dignity, principles, or peace of mind. This self-respect attracts the right kind of opportunities and relationships, those that resonate with your true self. In relationships especially, not chasing can revolutionize the way you interact. Instead of striving to make someone love or value you, focus on being the best version of yourself. Be authentic and let relationships evolve naturally. This approach reduces anxiety and builds healthier, more balanced connections. In essence, don't chase is about aligning yourself so fully with Stoic principles that you trust the process of your life. You work hard, you set intentions, but you detach from the outcome, knowing that you can handle whatever result comes your way. This brings a profound inner peace and confidence that is visible to everyone around you, drawing into your life exactly what is meant for you without the need for desperate pursuit. Number 9. Unconditional love. This is a term we often hear thrown around in discussions about deep, meaningful relationships, But what does it really mean, especially from a Stoic perspective? Stoicism may not be the first philosophy you think of when it comes to love, given its reputation for promoting emotional restraint, but it actually offers a profound understanding of how to love wisely and well. Unconditional love in Stoicism is about loving others not for what they can give you or how they make you feel, but simply because they are human, just like you, with their own struggles and triumphs. It's about seeing the value in every person and loving them without expecting anything in return. This type of love is freeing because it is not contingent on receiving love back or on the other person meeting any conditions. Now, let's get into how this plays out in everyday life. Unconditional love means accepting people as they are, not as we wish them to be. This acceptance doesn't imply endorsement of negative behaviors. Rather, it's about recognizing that we all have flaws and imperfections and choosing to love anyway. It's loving people, not for their potential to change according to our desires, but for their intrinsic worth. From a Stoic standpoint, unconditional love also involves practicing empathy and understanding. It means trying to see the world from another person's perspective, understanding their reasons and motivations, even if we don't agree with them. This doesn't mean you forsake your own values or boundaries. Rather, you recognize that everyone is navigating their own path, often doing the best they can with the knowledge and skills they have at the moment. Furthermore, Stoicism teaches us about the impermanence of life and the importance of cherishing our relationships while we can. This sense of impermanence doesn't make love less meaningful. Rather, it adds urgency to practicing unconditional love, pushing us to love fully and freely without getting bogged down by petty grievances or transient emotions. Practically, unconditional love means showing kindness and affection without keeping score. It's about being there for others in their moments of need without any thought of what you might get in return. It's also about forgiveness, which is a crucial aspect of Stoicism. Forgiving those who have wronged us not only frees them from our resentment, but also liberates us from carrying the burden of anger and bitterness. Unconditional love also aligns with the Stoic practice of non-attachment to external outcomes. When we love unconditionally, we're not attached to outcomes like reciprocity or acknowledgement. Instead, our focus is on giving love because it aligns with our values and who we want to be as people, not because we seek a specific result. In relationships, this means nurturing and supporting others, not because we want them to stay with us or make us happy, but because we genuinely want what's best for them. It encourages healthy, robust relationships built on mutual respect and genuine care, rather than dependency or manipulation. Embracing unconditional love, therefore, is about embodying the Stoic virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. It's about having the wisdom to see the intrinsic value in all, the justice to treat everyone with fairness, the courage to love even when it's hard, and the moderation to keep our own emotions in check so they don't overshadow our capacity to love others. Number 10. Don't center your life around another person. It's a powerful reminder that while relationships can add tremendous value to our lives, our own self-worth and happiness should never be wholly dependent on someone else. Stoicism, with its focus on inner fortitude and personal virtue, teaches us that the most stable foundation for a fulfilling life is the self, not external relationships. Let's break this down a bit. Stoicism encourages us to cultivate an inner sanctuary of peace and stability that does not overly rely on external circumstances or people. This isn't about isolating yourself or avoiding relationships, but about finding a balance where your emotional well-being isn't completely tied up in another person. It's about developing a robust sense of self that remains constant, regardless of the relationships you are in. Practically speaking, this means taking the time to get to know yourself, to understand your desires, ambitions, and values independently of anyone else. It's about building a life you're proud of on your own terms. This could involve pursuing hobbies and interests that excite you, advancing in your career, or simply cultivating a daily routine that brings you peace and happiness. From a Stoic perspective, centering your life around another person can lead to a loss of personal agency and freedom. If your happiness is dependent on another person's presence and actions, what happens when they're not around, or if they act in ways you don't expect? According to Stoicism, this dependency is a recipe for disappointment and emotional turmoil because it places too much control in the hands of others, over whom we ultimately have no real control. Furthermore, Stoicism teaches us about the concept of preferred indifference. These are things that are nice to have, but not essential for a good life, such as wealth, health, and yes, even relationships. While we can prefer to have fulfilling relationships, they should not dictate our entire existence or sense of self-worth. Instead, our focus should be on things entirely within our control, like our character and our actions. In relationships, this philosophy means engaging with others authentically and wholeheartedly, but without becoming so emotionally entangled that your sense of self and your ability to be happy relies solely on them. It's about loving freely and fully, yet also having the strength and independence to be alone. This balance allows relationships to become sources of mutual growth and joy, rather than unhealthy dependency. In essence, not centering your life around another person is about embracing the freedom to live according to your own values and purposes. It's about ensuring that your relationships enhance your life rather than define it. By adopting this Stoic practice, you not only protect your emotional health, but also become capable of offering stronger, more stable love to those around you. You become a partner, a friend, or a family member who brings their whole, fulfilled self to the table, making every interaction richer and more rewarding. As we wrap up today's journey through these profound Stoic teachings, remember that the strength to lead a balanced and fulfilling life comes from within. Cultivating a life based on Stoic wisdom not only empowers you, but also enriches the lives of those around you, creating a ripple effect of positivity and resilience. Embrace these lessons and let them guide you to a more centered, peaceful existence. If you're inspired by what we've discussed and eager to dive deeper into the transformative world of Stoicism, I invite you to explore our playlist right here on the screen. Continue your journey, enrich your understanding, and apply these timeless principles to everyday life. Thank you for joining me today, and remember, the path to wisdom is not walked alone, but shared with all who seek its rewards.